Alright, sorry about this. This is going to be two videos, but this is replacing the axle continued. Basically, the next step we've got, now that I've got the yoke off and the uh, bands holding the yoke on, the next thing you'll need to do is attach a 9/16 socket to the other side of this. There's a bolt. Once we get that bolt off, I'll be able to whack this off. But usually you apply heat to this because this is usually a bit of a pain to get off. This is probably the hardest part of this whole job is getting this thing off. So I might get lucky, it might come off easy. I've been running this car fairly clean, you know. It's not been sitting around in a field for a long time, so I'm hoping I'm somewhat lucky. But next thing, getting this 9/16 bolt off and probably whack this with a good hammer or a mini sledge, and we'll see if I can get it off. Um, so it looks like I super lucked out because it was pretty easy to get this 9/16 bolt off. Remember again what I'm said earlier is it's easy to have easy to push this inside of this little groove here to actually get some force, some leverage on to get this thing off. So, you know, what I did is I took this mini sledge and whacked it a couple times like that, and it didn't take too long, and it's coming off now. And there we go, it's off. Alright, so the next part is to get this thing off. So I'm feeling pretty lucky so far, so I think I'm just gonna probably whack with the hammer. And a good place to whack is like right on this edge here. There's a little ledge. It's a good place to whack. You don't want to distort this thing too much by hitting the wrong spots, so these are good spots to hit on this side, hit on the other side, hit on this side, the other side. And if that doesn't work, I'll bring out the torch and heat it up nice and good, and then I'll whack really hard on this side and really hard on that side. And if it was like sitting in a field for a really long time, I really have to lay into it. And maybe at that point I'd be like, yeah, I can hit right here and there, just because I need to get it off to actually use it, you know. So, but I'm pretty sure I can get this one off without too much trouble. So we'll try with it cold first, and probably. Alright, so at this point I do think I'm going to get this off. I've been whacking on it with the hammer, and you can kind of see it's coming a little bit of the threads there, so I'm going to continue to whack on it. I need both hands to do this. Alright, so I got it done. It's out. This is kind of what the thread end looks like on that. Alright, well, anywho, once you get that part off, it just slides straight out. And this is what the axle looks like. So kind of like that. And I got a replacement one. Someone else can take a look. This looks like so the early ones, like 62, 63, they had like a full body around here. I can show you the difference between them. Just hold on a sec. Alright, so here's two axles I've saved over time just in emergencies. This is actually like a 64 right here. You can see the lines are quite a bit different. And then this is more like a 62, 63. Looks like this is what they had in it. I like this one better. It's not one of those. They made like the stock one would have been able to rotate a little bit more than this. This is like a replacement, but it should work fine. I also like this one. This one seems to work better. Like it's greased up. I don't know if I like this one as much. So this is my replacement one. I'm gonna try that out now. So the first thing to try here, maybe before you get two heads in, is see how well this thing's gonna go in. You may want to grease this at this point, you know, see if it's gonna slide on there easy, because last thing you want to do is get in a fight with this thing to get it on. It's hard for me to hold the camera and get this on. There we go. You can see this one's going on by hand pretty easy, so I'm not so worried about it. I'll give it a couple taps if it gets stuck. But basically, you know, that's the next thing. It's not going to go on now, but, you know, I'm going to put it in like that first. You know, just like the other one came out. Alright, so I've got this guy in, kind of. I'm going to put the yoke on. The thing I didn't show in the other video was there's actually a washer on the end of, you know, what holds the yoke on. So this guy goes in here like that. Just make sure you don't lose that washer, because when you put this stuff back together, you're going to need all those pieces. Alright, so at this point I have the this end fastened on well with the 9/16. I'm using the trick where I slide it into here, into this sleeve, and then I can tighten it down nice and tight. And then next order of things to do is putting on the yoke. So you go re-put this back on, you know, put these bolts on, the U-bolts on, and tighten down the nuts, and then we'll slide it in the transmission over here, and then tighten it down. We'll be ready to go. So it's not such a bad job now. You can see that's where it slides in the transmission. Sometimes those seals leak. Those are pretty easy to replace, but you got to pull the yoke, you know, or pull the axle, like I've shown in this video. So okay, so the only thing maybe worth mentioning is when you're putting these U-bolts on is just kind of try and tighten them down to both, you know, about the same thread length sticking out. So maybe just tighten them down until you start see they're flush with the end, and then kind of tighten them about the same. It's not really crucial. You just don't want to tighten one down like all the way and not the other one. So, well, I mean, you know, have them different lengths. So, anywho, this step, now that we got this back on, is just to slide it in. There will be a little bit of wiggling to get it to sit right, and then also at the same time, as I'm pushing it in, I have to line it up here to get it to slide back in here. So the cool part is you don't have to take all your brakes and stuff apart. You shouldn't have to, but the other thing to note is there's like a curved edge on this guy, and the curved edge goes up. So this one's kind of curved in just a little bit, and then this is up. So if you try and put it all together and this is the wrong way, it's going to be really hard because it's not going to go in. You're going to spend a lot of time like jiggling around with it, trying to be like, why isn't this going in? The other thing to note is this end will go in a little ways while this one's starting to connect up to the bolts. So we're just going to kind of line both of them at the same time and get this done. Alright, so that went all pretty easy. It's all in, and basically now all I have to do is tighten up my 4 bolts on here, make sure that lock washers are on each of these. And that goes the same with over here. Make sure that there were lock washers on those. You don't want those nuts falling off. You're going to be stranded. So really important, lock washers on those and on these parts. These are all moving, so important to get it right. So let's see here. Well, technically this one's not really moving on this end, so maybe that wouldn't be as important, but put them in there. Good practice. Alright, so we'll do that. Alright, at this point I've gone around and basically tightened all the bolts here. So you may have a little bit of trouble on this brake shoe. You know, push it, wiggle around so you get your socket on it. And then we just throw the drum on, throw the wheel on, and we're done. So basically that's all you need to do for the axle. Like I said, the hardest part would be getting this yoke off, you know, the very end part. I would recommend definitely having one of these guys as a backup, because you know, certainly if it's a daily driver, maybe you'd get away with it if it wasn't something you were driving much. But Clark sells brand new ones that are, redone. I think they actually have a service to put them on your axle. That's definitely a good way to go. Or you can find a used one. I just happened to pull these off 64 convertible that was basically just a parts car. So pulled them off while I was at it, and they ended up being useful. So hopefully, hopefully these ones don't wear down as much. But that's your gamble with used parts. So, and basically to do this job, just a recap, we needed an extension and deep sockets, 1/2 inch and 9/16, a jack, a screwdriver to get the hubcap off, and I think that's mostly it. A mini sledge to whack the back of that. I think that's about it. So hopefully this has been useful to you, and we'll see you on the next video.